But I have to say I've got a little bit more trepidation than normal when standing up and talking at ICAWC, because for the second half of the talk I'm going to be working with two dogs, two puppies that I've never met before. Because what I want to do here and what I want to do today is introduce clicker training. I don't just want to talk about it or show films. I want to actually show it for real and how it works. Because I want all of you to be able to go home and be enthusiastic about it and to have the confidence to actually do it with dogs that you've got in your care. To do it effectively, to do it safely, and to do it for the benefit of the dogs. A little bit about this, and I'm going to talk about it at a little bit more length, because I think it is really, really important. So first of all, if you train the dogs that you have in your rescue organisations, they are more likely to find a home. If someone comes to your organisation and sees one of those dogs that throws himself against the bars of the kennels and barks and shouts and doesn't show himself off very well, and then they take him out and he yanks their arms out in a lead and he's flying around all over the place, they're going to give him straight back to you and put him away again, because they can't see how that dog is ever going to fit into their life, how they're ever going to have a relationship with that dog. If they take out exactly the same dog and he can do a nice sit, even if he's been throwing himself at the bars of the cage before, and they take him out in a lead and they've got a little bit of control of him, and they can see how that dog's going to fit into their life, and they're far, far more likely to take him home because they can see that they're going to have a relationship with that dog. A trained dog you can market better than breeders can market their puppies. When you take on a puppy, you're taking on a lot of work. You're taking on the toilet training, you're taking on the socialisation. You have no idea how this little squidgy ball is going to turn out without putting a lot of input into that dog. But you can sell a trained rescue dog as what you see is what you get. If you like this dog who can do a few things, who can sit, who can be well behaved, that's far, far better and far more desirable than a puppy. So that's fine for dogs who are going to be going to a new home relatively quickly. But how about for those who are going to be with you for whatever reasons for longer? If you're working somewhere where there isn't a great rehoming culture, where maybe dogs are staying longer, or maybe you don't have any chance of getting some of these dogs out at all, then your commitment to these dogs has to be far greater, because you are effectively the owner of these dogs. And you have to be responsible for not just the physical health of these dogs, but for the emotional health of these dogs as well. Any of you who were in Sarah and Steve's workshop yesterday will see just how much those puppies got out of a relatively short time of training compared to what they would have got out of physical exercise. Puppies especially, and all dogs, they need to be mentally challenged as much as they do physical challenge. And if you're responsible for these dogs long term, probably training, reward-based training, is the number one thing that you can do to improve the life of these dogs in your care. All creatures need to be able to influence their environment. All creatures need to be able to succeed. That's how we are designed. It's that desire to succeed that gets us out of bed every morning. The desire to succeed in finding food, to find shelter, to find a mate, to find breakfast, to find fun, all of those things. Our brains are hardwired to need the chemicals that flood into our brains when we get success. That's why success is really addictive. But it doesn't just keep us happy or stop us getting bored. We actually need it. Otherwise we succumb to anxiety and depression, and dogs are exactly the same. When we keep dogs in a shelter environment, and in fact for quite a lot of people who have owned dogs, We give them no chance to succeed, no chance to influence their own environment and get any mental stimulation. And this, exactly the same in humans, leads to bored, depressed, and quite often what seem like dangerous dogs. Many dogs who could easily be rehomed never get the chance because they just, almost in that environment, become unhomeable because they're unable to succeed and they just actually don't have any great reason to live. Really one of... Missed the slide there, sorry about that. Good for dogs, useless for technology. One of the other good reasons for training dogs and for reward-based training dogs, and specifically for clicker training dogs, is that it can make dogs easier to handle. It gives you a way to communicate with quite often those tricky, shut-down dogs that apparently seem really, really hard to work with. Because you're giving them that way to control their environment, and they get that internal self-reward, all those brain chemicals that flood your brains when you're succeeding. So what actually is clicker training? Most people have heard of it. Some people even think they can do it, but not that many people understand it, understand how it works, and actually understand how simple and how easy it is. I have lost count of the number of people that when I say I clicker train dogs, say to me, oh, that's just waving food around, isn't it? Or even better, I don't want to bribe my dogs to do what I want them to do it because I tell them. Yeah, all goes to prove they just don't understand it. Clicker training is just a way to communicate to a dog that something that he has done is going to get him something that he wants, and therefore it's something that is worth repeating. That's it. Dogs repeat the things that work for them, and they don't repeat the things that don't work for them. Virtually everybody who has a dog, and I'll put my hand up to this one as well, have dogs who beg at the table. And the reason they have dogs that beg at the table is because sometimes in the dim and distant past, somebody has fed that dog from the table. So they've been rewarded for that behaviour, and so it's worth doing that behaviour again. That's the basis of clicker training. None of us have dogs that when we're not there, sit in front of the fridge and beg to the fridge, because the fridge has never spontaneously opened and thrown out goodies. So while they know that there is food in that fridge, they're not going to sit and beg to the fridge because it's pointless. So that behaviour never starts and never continues because it's never rewarded. It's that easy, clicker training. What we do with clicker training, however, is we have a very clear signal that the dog is going to get rewarded. The science behind this, it went right back to Pavlov, a scientist, who learned, he took a sound that had no meaning for his laboratory dogs. At that time it was the ringing of a bell, and he consistently rang this bell before dinner time. And he found within 5 repetitions, when he rang the bell, a sound that the dogs had never heard before, the dogs started salivating. And he worked out that what he'd conditioned these dogs to do was he had conditioned these dogs to link the sound of the bell to dinner. And so the bell suddenly had a positive meaning for the dogs. So we do exactly the same thing with clicker training. We take something, a noise, that to start with has no meaning for the dog, and we teach the dog that when you hear that sound, a treat's coming. That's it. And we link the click to the behaviour that we want. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Now, one of the criticisms that positive trainers will come in for, trainers like me, Sarah and Steve that you saw yesterday, is, but you're only positive. Dogs have to know when they've done wrong. That only goes to prove that a lot of people don't understand positive training and don't understand how brains work. First of all, punishment doesn't teach the dog what you actually want him to do. It teaches him what you don't want to do, but it gives you absolutely no indicators of what that dog will do in the future in that situation. He's just as likely to react negatively, he'll just probably do it in a different way. If you're a behaviourist and you're working in behaviour, you cannot change a dog's behaviour unless you can change the emotion that's causing the behaviour. So unless you can make a dog feel positive about something, he's still going to react negatively. So punishment does not help you predict what's going to happen in the future. More to the point, however, dogs don't think about things as being good or bad. That's a human thing. They think about things as being safe or beneficial and dangerous. That's it, that's how dogs think. And being able to quickly judge what is dangerous is self-preservation. It's what gets dogs, everybody, to be able to survive, pass on their genes to the next generation. So let me put this into a training context. If we don't speak the same language, and I'm training you to do something, and I manage to train you that when I say bibble, you jump in the air. And if you jump in the air when I say bibble, I'll give you whatever you want the most in the world. Whether that's gin and tonic, chocolate, money, I don't care. If you jump in the air when I say bibble, you can have it. You can have whatever you want. But I'll also teach you that if I say bibble and you don't jump in the air, or you don't jump high enough, or you don't do whatever criteria I suggest, I will slap you across the face. Now, first of all, this is going to ruin our relationship a lot, because I suddenly am a mad person who slaps you across the face. So if you have free choice, you will avoid me, and quite rightly so. The other thing, however, is that no matter how much you want your gin and tonic or your chocolate, and no matter how much you know that bibble means jump in the air and you'll get it, I have also taught you that in some circumstances bibble is dangerous. And so I will guarantee to you that when I say bibble, your first response will be fear, panic or anxiety. Because I have taught you bibble is dangerous, that means your self-preservation kicks in first, and the bit of your brain, the automatic nervous system, that tells you that things are dangerous works 10 times faster than the part of your brain that processes learning and what you have learned from experience. So, if you use punishment when you train, when you give a command to your dog, that's what he hears first. And he will be doing what you tell him because he's too scared not to, and not because it's what he wants to do, because he wants to work with him. So, what's so good about clicker training? Well, it's incredibly accurate. I can use that, and that's just an instant signal that says what you did was right. What you did that very instant was right. It's like taking a picture of the behaviour that you want. And even better is I can do that wherever the dog is. The dog could be over there, it could be at the back of the hall. I don't have to get close to that dog to be able to say, that is what I wanted you to do. So it's completely accurate, and it means you can train dogs that you can't necessarily get close to, which is fantastic for slightly more nervous dogs, or dogs who may be aggressive, or dogs that you have to train other side of a fence, other side of an enclosure. More than that, instead of training robotic dogs that just do the, oh, I sit because when she says sit, I sit, you train dogs who are enthusiastic. They go, look, I'm sitting, what will you give me for that? And you reward the dog for that behaviour. You get an enthusiastic dog. You get a dog who intentionally seeks you out because he wants to work for you. That's far more interesting for dogs, and you get a far better emotional response than for dogs who are just doing things automatically. Every morning when I go into the shower, I've got a bathroom that's got no outside windows, so I have to put the light on. And so automatically I've learned that unless I want to shower in the dark, I put on the light. And I do that. Every time I get up in the morning, I walk in, I put on the light. It's reflective because that is what I have to do, but I get no positive feeling out of it. Actually, it's so reflective that even if the light's on, I still pull the light and put it off because it's become automatic. But I get no positive feeling from that. If when I switch the light on, chocolate rains from the sky, I would put my light on with enthusiasm as opposed to reflectively. Exactly the same behaviour, but with a totally different emotional feeling behind it. And that's what clicker training produces. Dogs who work happily and enthusiastically and work with you. Training's something that we should do with dogs, not something that we do to dogs. Clicker-trained dogs just show a joy. Any of you who saw those puppies in the workshop yesterday will know that they worked with joy and fun. You saw those puppies going, look, I'm sitting, aren't I fantastic? Because that's what they've been taught. That's the one thing that you can do that quite often will make dogs that look nervous, like that little shepherd puppy that came in yesterday, just completely transform their attitudes. They feel that they're part of the training process. You saw that puppy going, who was working with Steve, just going, so I sit, and you make that clicky noise, and I get a treat. Wow, how cool is that? And that was a puppy that came in to start with, just thinking that life was just the most terrifying thing he'd ever seen, because he'd never been in that environment before. By the time he left, he was a totally different dog. Not only that, but clicker training gives dogs the chance to work things out for themselves. Dogs, like people, are more likely to remember what they're taught if they learn to do it rather than they're forced into do it. Just about everybody I met at breakfast this morning was having a panic as to whether they were going to find this place or not this morning. And that was because last night when we walked here, we walked like sheep. We just followed, I think John Gay, who was probably in front, and we just did we are following the person in front and we will get there. So the part of our brain that we were using was the following the leader, doing the sheep sort of pack mentality thing that we do, and we didn't actually process where we were going. So everybody this morning was going, I can't remember how we got there. All I did was just follow Clarissa or Adrian, or that was how I got there. But if you work it out yourself, any of you who managed to find this place on their own would never forget how to do it because they used the learning part of their brains. You could come here probably in 10 years' time and you would know how to get from the hotel to here because you've learnt it, you've worked it out yourself. So why do clicker trainers use a click and not a word? Well, dogs aren't particularly vocal creatures. They don't rely on voice to communicate in the same way as we do. Also, dogs hear our voices all the time when it has absolutely no meaning for them whatsoever. Dogs are far more interested in listening to the tone of our voice rather than what we actually say. And so sit or come or any of these things can sound completely different to a dog depending on whether we're in a good mood, a bad mood. I mean, you know what it's like. If you call a dog and he comes straight back to you, your tone of voice is very different than if you've been calling that dog who's had his head stuck in the bush for the last hour and you can't get him out and you really want him to come now, which is very different from the enthusiastic commands that you give normally. But that always sounds exactly the same. It has exactly the same meaning. It just means what you did then is going to earn you a treat. It's always positive. It always sounds the same. A lot of you who were in the workshop yesterday will have seen that, and I want to go over that again for the people who weren't, and for the people who were, just reiterate it a bit. The first one is just opportunistic clicking. So if the dog does what you want, without you asking him, you click and throw him a treat. Fantastic for nervous dogs. If you've got a dog that's over there, that's never come within 10 feet of you, and he takes a step towards you, you can click and throw him a treat. You haven't set that up, you've just taken advantage of what that dog's done and rewarded him for it. The next one is luring behaviours, which is what you did in the workshop, luring people with chocolate, which always works for me, which literally is using a treat on the end of the dog's nose, move it where you want, and then click and treat the dog for doing it. Yes, that is still bribery. We'll move on from that later. But that's the easiest way to train the sort of behaviours like sit and down, all those sort of obediency type behaviours, if you like. Then there's also shaping behaviours, which means just clicking and treating any small move on the way to what you want. That's fine to do that with words, but sometimes it works a little bit just to see how it actually works. And so I've got my lovely demonstration model at the moment, the lovely Sarah Fisher, who is going to be my sort of Labrador puppy for the next 5 minutes. Sarah, can you come and join me? I haven't got any chocolate and I haven't got anything. No, I know. I've got nothing to reward you with, so you're going to have to just imagine that I have chocolate this morning. So, that would be opportunistic clicking. Sarah's voluntarily falling up the stairs towards me, so I could have just clicked and treated that behaviour and rewarded it. I'm going to move away from this mic and use my tie mic. Is this working? Is my microphone? Yes, my microphone's working. Fantastic. So, shaping behaviour, I would have my treats, which would be chocolate if I was working with Sarah. So what I would do is I would take the chocolate. If I was teaching Sarah how to do a sit as a dog, I would put the treat on the end of her nose. I would move. Can you actually all fours, please? Thank you. Lovely. I always wanted to do that. Put the treat on the end of her nose, move the treat up and back. The minute she sits, click and give the treat. Sorry, never came. Easy as that. Next time I repeat that, she'll do it far faster because she knows exactly what I want her to do. And that is it. That is shaping behaviour. Now, I would be a little bit more adventurous after that. And after I'd given the treat, I'd move away so she'd come with me. And then do the same thing again. Lovely. Thank you. That's luring. It's as simple as that. I am going to do it with a dog. The reason I did it with somebody... Stay here for a minute. The reason I did it with somebody else first is because I wanted to talk you through it. Once I get the dogs on, I'm going to have to concentrate on the dogs. Shaping behaviour is a little bit like that great childhood game that you played of hotter and colder. You reward the dog when he does any move towards what it is that you actually want him to do. So I'm going to do a little bit of training with Sarah that way, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to train her to do. Sarah, turn your back. Thank you. Hang on, let me find one that's... oh, that looks like a good one. I like giving myself a challenge, don't I? Never mind. Now, fantastic dog. Anytime she makes any move towards doing what I want, I'm going to click and I'm going to give her a treat. I'm going to change my clicker because this one isn't very loud and I want you to be able to hear it a bit better. That's better. Again, you're going to have to imagine this is chocolate. I'm going to come over this side of you. So any move Sarah makes towards what I want, she's going to get a click and a treat. If she does anything I don't want, then I'm going to ignore that behaviour until she gives me something that I want a little bit more. Whoops, bad timing, that click. So, one rule of clicker training, if you click, you must treat, even if you click in the wrong place, which I just did then. I'm headed your way. Yeah! Oh, no. Have I told you what I wanted you to do this morning? Right, thank you. Okay, I'm off my PowerPoint now because I've just seen my timing. First rule is, if you click, you must treat. That only has any meaning because it means a treat is coming. There's no pushing and pulling in clicker training. I wouldn't have pushed Sarah towards Adrian, I wouldn't have pushed her into any position, because all I would have taught her is that that behaviour is someone pushing you over there. I needed her to learn that behaviour. There's no punishment, it's all positive. This isn't a remote control. There's another one for you. A number of times I've seen people go, dancing doesn't work. It's not a remote control. And the other one is just stay safe and have some fun. So let's have a little squidgy puppy. I normally clicker train puppies, all dogs actually, off lead. I want them to stay with me because they want to be here. Thank you, Sarah. Now, I have actually, liver cake. Way, thank you. Brilliant, now it's okay. Hello, good boy. Hello. Look at you. Right, I'm just going to make a little bit of a relationship with this puppy. Oh, that's yummy. I was a domestic goddess, I made this stuff. I was very nearly divorced. It's horrible. Good puppy. First thing I'm doing is just telling this puppy that this is a great place to be because I have got liver cake. I'm not asking him to do anything. I'm not using the clicker right now because at the moment he doesn't know what that means. And when I introduce the clicker, I'm going to do it in a way where he's thinking about something else. He's thinking about liver cake. Good. Oh, good puppy. Right, go on then. Let's do a little bit of work. As I did with Sarah, treat on the end of the nose, nose up. Oh, good. Well done. Nice little sit. He doesn't know that's why he heard that noise or why he got the treat, but he might work it out in a minute. What are we going to do? Yeah! Good! Clever puppy! Come with me. Isn't that yummy? What are we going to do? What are we going to do for that? No. Ready? Good. Oh, he says I'm going over there. Brilliant. Good puppy. Oh, I knew good. Now, whether or not he's learnt to sit, he thinks I am just the greatest person on the planet. Good. Clever puppy. Ready. Oh, now we're getting it. He's a lot quicker. Ready? What are we going to do? What are we doing? Yeah, good puppy. Now, whether or not he understands what I want yet, he does understand what I want. He thinks I'm the greatest person on the planet. He has learned that training is actually a lot of fun, and look, I'm good to be with. You've never seen me before. Live. Yeah, ready? Good. Ready. Oh. I clicked that because he looked at me and put his bottom half. I was slow clicking, but he's a genius. That's how quickly clicker training works. They're laughing at you. So you are so clever. It's because you are so clever. Brilliant. I have taught him in... Now you see, have you noticed? This is a superstar. This puppy now is working partly for the click and the treat, and he's also working for you laughing at him. Once I had taught Ready? I'm sorry, you've got to follow this, not me, but this puppy is... Ready? No. What are we going to do? Yay, brilliant. You are clever. The next step on from this, at this point this is still bribery. This is still the point where everybody says clicker training is just waving treats around. Because yes, I'm happy to bribe him, to put his bottom down, and I give him a treat. Can I do it again? Please, go on, let me do it again. He says, no, I'll go self-employed, I'll just take my treat back. The next step would be, and it's a little bit early for this puppy, is I'd show me how I had a treat, and I'd say, what are you going to do for it? What are you going to do to get this treat that I've got in my pocket? What are you going to do? I'm going to sniff around, I'm going to see Clarissa, fun. See, I've got that. What would you do for it? Good. That's just now moved from bribery to reward. He offered that sit, he's still offering that sit. He offered that sit willingly. Okay, so that's all those people who say clicker training is bribery. It only is, sorry, he just gave me a big bell. She just looked at me and went, getting a bit full now. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Have you learned what to do yet? He says, oh, there's a freebie on the floor. Going to do it. Oh, he says, I just don't know. My brain's working. It's working really hard. I want that liver cake. They're going to laugh at me. It's embarrassing, isn't it? And you've got odd ears and everything. What are we going to do for this bit of liver cake? I'm not sure, I'm a bit full now, quite frankly. I'm a bit full. You're a good boy. Next step after that would... I'm sorry, I'm playing with the puppy now. Good lad. We're going to do... What are we going to do? Last one, and then I have to talk to these people. Yay. Good. Okay. First step of clicker training. You show the behaviour that you want, and you reward it. Next, you then get the dog to offer that behaviour to you. So you go from bribery to reward. The next step is putting a name to that behaviour. So at the point when he knows to put her bottom, sorry little one, when she knows to put her bottom on the floor, then I'll put the word onto it, sit or whatever. There's no point in saying sit until she knows what it means. After that, I would get out and do it everywhere. I get out and do it with distractions. At the moment, all this puppy thinks is that sitting down happens when you're on a stage in front of 200 people. She has to learn that it means sit absolutely everywhere. This puppy is absolutely fantastic. What time am I on, Giles? Okay. Can I have the other puppy? And I'll just show you something that you can actually do with slightly more nervous dogs. Except I don't want to give this puppy back. No, you're not. Fantastic. Despite the distractions of this situation, that this is a really, really fake environment, this puppy has come up here and has worked happily and with fun, and that's the joy of clicker training. That's this puppy's first training experience, and it has been fun. If I had got hold of that puppy and brought it up here and pushed its bottom down and said, that's what sit means, that puppy would not want to work with me happily. Right, come on and sweetly. This puppy's a little bit more nervous, very nervous in fact. So let's just see how this works. I'm just going to come down here and just try a little bit of liver. Look. What do we think about this? Oh, that's quite nice, isn't it? That's quite nice. You think you can come to me? No. Okay, in that case I'm going to work on the stairs because that might just be a little less... Oh, it says I can't possibly be stairs. Oh, good. Now, I think this puppy might be a little bit worried about the clicker. Oh, sweetie. Oh, it says this is scary. Good. So when you've got a nervous puppy, I'm happily just going to click and treat this puppy for wanting to be with me. Good. This puppy takes any step towards me at all. Good. And I'm making it pleasant for this dog to be. Yeah, it's a lot nicer now, isn't it? Yeah. I don't care that that's bribery, because I can't possibly eat. Be aware that when dogs get nervous and get worried, they can't actually eat. And he is a little bit nervous and he's a little bit worried. Always start off your clicker training with very few distractions. Good, that was nice. I now know this puppy is just settling a little bit, but yeah, hello, because he's happy to approach me. What I would do, you're good, aren't you? Just lovely. I just want to teach this puppy that if he voluntarily touches my hand, he's going to get a click and treat, because I want it to be his choice to come and interact with me. Good. Oh, that was a bit loud, wasn't it? That was right in my microphone. Where did that come from? Oh, yay. Oh, we're going over there. Good. Except we're tied up around the table leg now, aren't we? Good. And that's something that you can work with puppies or with any dog when you're working in your shelter. Anytime they voluntarily approach you, you can click and treat. Oh, this is exciting. Good. And I'm not going to do very much more with this puppy, just purely because I'm being self-employed. Clicker training doesn't come without dangers. And I'm actually in quite a vulnerable position with this puppy because he's very, very close to my face. And I looked at this puppy's body language first and made a little bit of a judgment call that I thought this puppy was safe. If I hadn't thought that, I wouldn't be getting face to face with this dog. Good. Sarah, can you come and, or Steve, can you come and take this puppy who has just done a fantastic job? I'd ask you not to applaud this puppy because he is just really, really worried about all this. Having said that, I'm now a safe person to be with, which is rather interesting. He's now worked out that having not known me at all, I am now probably the safest person in this room. Apart from Uncle Steve. Here we go. Do you want a little bit of... There you go. Says, no, I'm staying with this woman, she's safe and she's nice. That's very, very scary. Right. So that's the rules of clicker training. So go out and just use it. Have some fun with it. All you're doing is when you see the dog doing a behaviour that you want, and it can be anything. Anything as simple from just taking a step towards you for a dog who has been nervous or worried, to training sits and downs. Just click, treat, reward the behaviour. As people and as trainers, we tend to be far, far more comfortable looking for things to punish rather than looking for good things to reward. And we need to change the way we think when we're working with dogs. All the time we should be looking for what is the dog doing right that I can reward, not what is the dog doing wrong that I can punish. And an awful lot of the time, whether we're training our own dogs, whether we're training shelter dogs, we tend to ignore the good, because the good quite often is just lying down, being calm and quiet. And we tend to forget to reward that, and only sort of become reactive when the dog does something we don't want. Start looking for things that dogs and people do that you like, that you can reward. Now I'm going to just very quickly flip to my very, very last screen, because just before I finish, I just want to say to all you iPhone people, and I've seen an awful lot of you, is that Dogs Trust have just released a new iPhone